Alrighty, students, it's Mr. Arevalo with a new lesson. And for today's lesson, we're going to be focusing on box 1, 7.8, subtraction. Subtraction with renaming, okay? One more time, that is subtraction with renaming, okay? And for this lesson, it's not difficult. There's just a couple of steps that we need to do, okay? As long as you feel comfortable renaming like a mixed number into a fraction and a fraction into a mixed number, then the lesson should be real simple, okay? Going into box 2, or mathematical practice. For today's MP, I want us to focus on MP 6, which is attend to precision, okay? And for this, all I want you to simply understand is that you can review your calculations and your strategies just to double check that everything that you've done is correct. Okay, so basically, are you double checking your work? Okay, and the answer to that question should be yes, you are. Do not, skip on that part, okay? Going into box 3, our purpose. Today we will rename mixed numbers to subtract, okay? Go ahead and write that down. Give you a couple seconds. Alrighty, on the bow, you know what to do. Starting with today in 3, 2, and today we will rename mixed numbers to subtract. Alrighty, great job, class. Going into box 4, our APK, activating our prior knowledge, okay? So the instructions read as, rename the mixed numbers into fractions, okay? So in order to do this, hopefully you have not forgotten, okay? I need to multiply my whole number times my denominator, right? So I have 6 and 6/8. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply 6 times 8. I do get 48. After that, then I add the numerator. Remember, add the numerator. So 48 plus 6. Okay, that is going to equal 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54 over 8. Okay, and I can't remember if we've done these exact problems. Okay, I don't think we have. But if we have, no big deal. Okay, so we do have 54/8. Okay, so going into our next APK problem, I have 7 and 7/10. And again, I'm going to multiply my whole number times my denominator. So 7 times 10 is 70. 70 plus, remember I add the numerator. So 70 plus 7 is equal to 77 over 10, or 77/10. Okay, and if you're able to do that comfortably, then this lesson should be pretty simple, okay? Alrighty. Going into box 5, our vocabulary words. For our first vocabulary word, we're going to focus on a fraction, okay? Fraction, and this is an amount that tells how many parts of a whole, okay? How many parts of a whole. Going into our next vocabulary word, it is going to be a unit fraction, right? Unit fraction, which is a special fraction. Okay, and a unit fraction is a fraction, okay, that has a numerator of 1. And then our last vocabulary word is going to be a mixed number, okay? Mixed number. And a mixed number is an amount given as a whole number, and a fraction, okay? Just remember it's mixed together because it has two things that are different, which is a whole number and a fraction. Alrighty, going on. Box 6, okay? This is our critical attribute, or the main component of today's lesson, okay? And going in order, step 1 says rename into fractions. So basically, the book is going to give you mixed numbers, right? For a problem, you're going to have two mixed numbers. For example, 4 and 2/10 minus 2 and 5/10, okay? So you guys are used to doing these. You can subtract them, but what you cannot subtract or you cannot do is you cannot subtract them when you have this 2 smaller than this 5, okay? And that's why we go into step 1, which is rename into fractions, okay? So remember, when you rename into fractions, you just, real simple, okay, you change the mixed numbers into the fractions by multiplying the whole number times the denominator and then adding the numerator. So 4 and 2/10 is equal to 42/10, and 2 and 5/10 is equal to 25/10, okay? That's step 1, just rename them. Now step 2 says subtract the numerators again, okay, sorry about that, class. Numerators, okay, sorry, and write new fraction. So for example, I'm going to subtract 42 minus 25, okay? So 2 minus 5 I can't do. The 4 becomes a 3. The 2 becomes a 12. 12 minus 5 is 7. 3 minus 2 is 1. So that's where I got the 17, okay? So I do get the 17. I'm just going to put on the top right here. 17 over, and remember, the denominator stays the same, okay? 17/10. Now, after you do that, okay, you've subtracted them, you've done that, then you have to put it back into a mixed number. So you're going to rename it one more time, okay, and you're going to just divide. Remember, you divide the numerator by the denominator, so you put the 17 inside of our box right here, right, and then the 10 goes outside, okay, and then you just start dividing them. So how many times can 10 go into 17? Well, that's 1 time. 10 times 1 is 10, so you subtract 17 minus 10, so 7 minus 0 is 7, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So then again, you get 1 and 7/10, okay? Remember, our quotient is our whole number, our remainder is our numerator, and our divisor is 10. Okay, or the divisor is our denominator, is what I meant to say. I think you understood. Okay, so again, it's just about renaming in this lesson. There's a lot of renaming where you go back and forth. Okay, but as long as you feel confident doing that, this lesson should be pretty simple. Okay. Alrighty, example, find the sum. So I'm looking at the first example problem. I have 6 and 4/7 minus 1 and 6/7. So the first thing I need to do is I need to rename these into fractions. So again, 6 times 7 is 42. 42 plus 4 is 46 over 7, right? Minus 1 times 7 is 7. 7 plus 6 is 13. 13 over 7. So now I'll just subtract these, right? 46 minus 13, okay? So I do get 33 over 7. I'm not done yet though. Remember, after I get it into the fraction, then I have to rename it back into a mixed number. So I'm going to divide these, right? Okay, so 7 times 4 is 28, okay? You do get, well, this 3 minus 8 I can't do. This 3 becomes a 2. This 3 becomes a 13. 13 minus 8 is 5. So I get 5 right here and 7. So my answer in mixed number is 4 and 5/7. Okay? 4 and 5/7. Hopefully you were able to get that. And if you weren't, try to figure out where you made the mistake at, okay? Going into our next example problem. And don't forget, you guys can always ask me. I promise I will help you out, okay? So I have 5 and 6/12 minus 4 and 9/12, okay? And again, I need to rename these into fractions. So 5 times 12 is 60, plus 6 is 66 over 12, minus, well, 4 times 12 is 48. 48 plus 9 is 57, okay? Let me just double check. 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57. Yes, it is. 12 stays the same, right? Denominator stays the same. So now I subtract 66 minus 57. I'm going to write them right here so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay. 6 minus 7 I can't do, so this 6 becomes a 5. This 6 becomes a 16. 16 minus 7 is 9. Okay, so I do get the 9 right there. And then I'm just going to write 9 over 12. Now, this one's a little bit different, and let me explain why, okay? So, if I'm looking right here, my numerator, right? My numerator is 9, and my denominator is 12. So, because I have 9 on the top, and that's smaller than the 12, that actually means that I'm done with the problem, okay? I only rename if the numerator on top is bigger than the denominator on the bottom, okay? So I did get 9/12 right here, but actually though, I can reduce this. So I'm going to divide both of these by, see if you guys can do it, and it is going to be by 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 12 divided by 3 is 4, so I do get 3/4. And that's it, okay? So remember, we only rename if the number on top is bigger than the number on the bottom. If it's not, then we can leave it as is, okay? So in this case, that's when I got the 9/12, remember? And I left it alone, okay? I didn't have to rename it anymore. Alrighty, going into box 8, our non-example. Where is the mistake? Okay, well, let's take a look. I have 8 and 1/9 minus 2 and 5/9, okay? So again, I'm looking at the answer. It's saying that it's 50/9. The mistake. Well, let's just double check that they've done everything correct, right? So 8 times 9 is 72. 72 plus 1 is 73. 73 over 9 minus 2 times 9 is 18. 18 plus 5 is 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, right? 23 over 9. So now I subtract 73 minus 23, and I do get 50. So I do get 50 over 9. Mr. Revlo, but they did that part correct. Yes, I know. But remember, okay, when we attend to precision, okay, remember our mathematical practice, we need to make sure that we double check our work. So we are double checking that this person did all the work correct. Now the mistake, okay, is that right here, they have 50, okay, and that 50 is bigger than the 9. So I must rename this, okay? I must rename this into a mixed number. Mr. Revlo, how come on the previous example, we didn't rename it? Because remember, class, we had 9 over 12, and 9 is smaller than 12. We only rename when the number on the top is bigger than the number on the bottom, okay? Otherwise, we don't have to, which is why we didn't do it in the other problem. So when I rename this, okay, that means I got to divide. So how many times can 9 go into 50? Well, that's going to be 9 times, let's see, 9 times 5, right? And I get 45. Subtract. So I do get 5 and 5/9. Okay? That's what they should have written as a mixed number, 5 and 5/9. But again, they left it as a fraction greater than 1, which was 50 over 9. Okay, and it should have been changed into a mixed number. Hopefully you were able to get that, okay? But again, it's not a difficult lesson. It's just a lot of renaming. You have to rename it, then you have to rename it, and so on. But renaming is pretty simple, okay? So step 1, we are going to look up right here so I can make sure that I write the correct step 1, which says rename into fractions, okay? Remember, even Mr. Revlo has to double check, okay? Rename into fractions. And actually, even when I double check, I still make mistakes, right? Like putting numeractor. Okay, so step 1, we rename into fractions. Step 2, we are going to subtract, right? Subtract the numerators, okay? And write new fraction. And then step 3 is we're going to rename back to mixed number, okay? We're going to rename it back into a mixed number. So first of all, okay, we start with our mixed number and then we change it into a fraction, which is called renaming. Well, then when it's in the fraction form, we just subtract the numerators, right? And then lastly, after we've subtracted, then we just change it back into mixed number through the renaming process, okay? So box 10 are sample problems. We're going to find the difference. Mr. Arevalo, these are a little bit different. I know, okay? And I did this purposely because remember, sometimes we might get some problems that I haven't showed you, but you should be able to solve them, okay, if you follow the steps. But in this case, okay, I'm going to just kind of show you real quick. It does say find the difference, and I have 6 minus 3 and 8/12. So this first one's different because you're not subtracting a mixed number minus a mixed number, right? You're taking a whole number and you're going to subtract a mixed number. Well, the first thing that you need to do when you encounter problems like this is figure out what the denominator is. So in this case, it's 12, right? So because it's 12ths, that means that I'm going to be working in 12ths. So in order to change 6 into a mixed number, I'm going to just cross out the 6. I'm going to change it into a 5, okay? And actually, it's going to turn into 5 and 12/12. Why, Mr. Arevalo? Because class, what's 5 and 12/12? Remember, if you have the top number the same as the bottom, what does that equal? Remember, that's going to equal 5 plus 1, which is going to equal 6, okay? And again, how did you know it was in 12ths, Mr. Arevalo? Because I got it from from down here, okay? So I need to make sure that I have 12ths, okay? And if it was 3 and 8/10, then I would have written 5 and 10/10. If it was 3 and 2/5, then I would have written 5 and 5/5, okay? Whatever our denominator is, that's what I changed it up above, okay? So now, after I've changed it, okay, now I can actually do the parts that I need to do. So there is one extra step right here, right? So now that I've done that, then I can, go back into the steps. So I'm going to rename it to fractions. Well, 5 times 12 is 60, and 60 plus 12 is 72. Okay, 72/12 minus 3 times 12 is 36, and 36 plus 8 is 44. Let me just double check that I did my math right. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. Yes, I did. Okay, so now after that, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 72 minus 44. Okay. 2 minus 4 I cannot do, so this 7 becomes a 6. This 2 becomes a 12. 12 minus 4 is 8. And 6 minus 4 is 28. Or sorry, 2, which gives me the difference of 28. So I have 28/12. And remember, because the top number is still greater than the bottom number, then I have to rename it into a mixed number. So I'm going to divide. 12 goes into 28 2 times. That's going to be 24. Okay. 8 minus 4 is 4. I do get 2 and 4/12. So if you can get to 2 and 4/12, I will be very happy for you, okay? Just because this one was a little bit different. Okay, and actually, I can still make it into simplest form, so I can actually change this into 2 and 1/3, right? Because if you divide the 4 by 1, you get 4, and if you divide the 12 by 3, so it's going to be 2 and 1/3. Let me erase this and do a better one. 2 and 1/3, okay? So our answer was 2 and 1/3 in simplest form, but if you got to 2 and 4/12, I would have accepted that, okay? Going into our next sample problem, I have 12 and 2/10 minus 5/10. Mr. Arevalo, where's the whole number on this one? We only have a fraction now. Yes, okay, so again, sometimes you may get some problems, okay, that are a little bit different, but if you use the strategies, okay, and you kind of reason logically, you should be able to think about it. So, let's go ahead and change these into fractions, okay? Well, this one, the bottom number, 5/10, this is already a fraction, right? 5/10, that's already a fraction, so I don't have to do anything to that one. I only need to change the top, 12 and 2/10. So let's go ahead and multiply and add, right? So 12 times 10 is 120. 120 plus 2 is 122/10, right? So now I'm going to subtract 122 minus 5/10, okay? So when you subtract those, hopefully you have not forgotten how to subtract, remember? Okay, I'll just kind of go like that. 2 minus 5 I cannot do, so this 2 becomes a 1, this 2 becomes a 12. 12 minus 5 is 7, then I just bring the 1s down, okay? So I do get 117 over 10. Oh man, that's horrible. Let me redo that line for you, okay? 117 over 10. And remember, because our top number, our numerator is still greater than our bottom number, our denominator, I still got to divide these, okay? So I'm going to draw my division box. 117 to 10. How many times can 10 go into 11? That's going to be 1 time. All right. Bring down the 7. How many times can 10 go into 17? That's going to be 1 time. Okay. Subtract those, right? So then I do get 11 and 7/10. Okay. Now again, I don't think you'll get problems like these two, but I just wanted to kind of go over them and make them a little bit more challenging for you, okay? 11 and 7/10 is what you should have gotten for that one. If you got both of those, I'm very proud of you, okay? Because both of those were a little tricky, okay? There's some extra steps added in those. So box 11, our recap. Today we renamed, right? We renamed mixed numbers to subtract, okay? We renamed mixed numbers to subtract. So going into box 12, your collaborative work and homework. For your collaborative work, I want you to focus on the share and show problems 2 through 7 and number 19 on pages 311 through 312. And your homework is to do 7.8. Now I promise you the problems in your book will be a lot easier than these problems that I was doing, okay? You know, I like to make it harder, so when you get to the problems in your book, they're a lot easier. With that said, if you have any questions, make sure that you let me know, okay? I always want to help you guys, but remember, I cannot help if you do not let me know that you need the help. With that said, see you in the next lesson. Bye.